today we're going to discuss curriculum types. We're looking at 5 basic types, their pros and cons, and some examples of each one. To give you an overview of what we're going to cover today, we're going to be looking at traditional, thematic, programmed, classical, and technological. These are very broad ways of grouping the different types of curriculum, and it will help you get a better feel for what's out there. Also keep in mind that you don't have to fit just within one of these. You may do a blend of these different types. Now let's look at the particular types. First, let's look at traditional. Traditional is comprised of 6 or 7 unrelated subjects with a different book for each one. It's grade specific and may be expensive. And this is more like what you would see in a public school system where each subject has their own book and they're not tied together. Some examples would be Bob Jones, Abeka, and Calvert. This is a good match for visual or auditory learners. Not so much for kinesthetic, not so much for kinesthetic, but more for the visual and auditory. You're looking at workbooks, textbooks, not so much hands-on. It is more likely to cover the basics. The lesson plans are already laid out. There's a lot of security in knowing that all the bases are covered. So you're good to go with this curriculum. Some of the cons, though, is that it is time-consuming. You've got to get in, sometimes with some of these curricula, you've got to get in and prepare the text beforehand. Again, it can be expensive. It's really difficult to teach various grades simultaneously because there's a lot of prep work for the mom. Subjects are taught separately. There's not any weaving in of the subjects into one thing. This works well, though, for a child that's used to being in school and was doing well and liked that school structure. This is a good fit for them. It is good for methodical and routine learners. If they need that knowledge of where they're going and what the routine's going to be, they don't really care for spontaneity, this is a good method. It's also good for a mom that needs reassurance that we're not going to miss anything. We're not, missing some major aspect that they need. Or it's routine and doesn't really have time to plan their own curriculum. This is a good all-in-one set, really good for first-time homeschooling parents. At least the first year or two that you homeschool, this is a good safe way to go. You know you're not going to miss anything for their age level. It does mean a little more work for you, but it does give you that time and freedom then to plan, where do I go after this? I don't know if you remember in school or not, but I know there were many years that we didn't finish the book in various classes. So keep in mind that even in school, not every page in every book is covered. Teachers may skip something intentionally, or the books, you may not have enough days to finish the book, or for whatever reason. So don't get stressed by feeling like you have to complete every single thing that you buy if you go this route. All right, let's look at thematic Unix studies. Now, these are basic school subjects that are studied in light of a particular topic or theme, or maybe even a historical period, instead of isolated subjects. So you may take a timeline and work your way through the timeline, talking about, each period of history, and then you talk about science or history, literature, health, etc., within the context of that historical period. Usually, if you go this route, you need a separate phonics and math program because it's really hard to integrate that into this type of study method. Some good examples are Konos, Weaver, Design a Study, Sunlight, Greenleaf Press, and Moving Beyond the Page. There are others, but these are good examples of the theme. Konos is good. It revolves around a character quality, and then it pulls in all your different subjects into that character quality. And some of these others are very well integrated as well. The learning style, it matches really just about any of them. It's multisensory. If you have a kinesthetic learner, you can do a lot more hands-on with this. It does put a lot back on your plate because of the preparation, and that's kind of one of the cons that I'll get to in a minute. It's really good if you've got multiple ages that you're teaching, because all of them can learn together. It uses real books. It's inexpensive. You can use a lot of library resources. And it definitely teaches to a child's area of interest where they can focus on what it is that they are interested in. Again, the cons can be the gaps in skills, so you really need to watch out that you're not missing anything. It can be very overwhelming to new homeschoolers. This really requires you as a mom to provide the structure and a preparation, gathering things for that day's class. So it's a more intense on the mom. It's a lot more fun on the kids. So for a new homeschooler, you can do it. This is what I did when I started homeschooling, and it worked great for us, but it does get more intensive as the kids get older. So keep that in mind. This works really well for a child pulled out of school that is burned out on learning. This is good for a creative mom that feels really good about her abilities to teach and really likes to be creative. If you're creative, go for it. This is a great way to teach your kids. Again, it's a lot of fun. It's very hands-on, and it's a fun way to teach. Multiple children in different grades, this works great because you can really tailor each day's class for that child, yet having an overall theme that you're doing together as a family. This works well for children who have difficulty sitting still and prefer that hands-on learning. Again, it's very kinesthetic. It can be hit and miss. For 5th and 6th grade, you may need to bring in a textbook or tests for content areas. Again, by going by a theme or unit study, you may miss some things. So, you just need to watch out for that. It can be done. You just have to watch out for it. All right, let's look at programmed. Now, by that, we mean this is based on a self-paced sequential workbook. It requires no preparation, so easy for the mom, and it usually requires little direct teaching by the parent. This is very geared for a motivated student. Some examples are Alpha Omega, School of Tomorrow, Paces, and Switched on Schoolhouse. It's very good for visual learners. Very easy to use, little prep, the lesson's already planned out. Really good, again, for that independent learner. Not really good for the younger grades, just because it requires the child to do so much. It's really not suitable for auditory learners, again, except for Switched on Schoolhouse. It's more visual. It can be boring to some. It's really not an interactive curriculum. Skill building might be lacking in the children, so you'd have to, work on that somewhere else. It does work well, though, for a mom who's very busy with little time for individual learning and preparation. Works great for a child who loves workbooks and routine learning. You've got children who just, give me more pages. Can I do 3 more pages, Mom? This is great for them. It does work well for a family in transition or a new mom, where you just don't have a lot of prep time and yet you still need to do school and get it done. So this is a really good option. And, some years this may be a good option if you're moving or, you just have too many pans in the fire that year. This may be a good choice for that year. It's really good for a child who's able to sit still and stay focused and needs little direction or discipline. If you've got a child who bounces around and flits about, this really isn't going to work. But if you've got a focused child, this is really good. Again, it needs a child who can manage their own work. A poorly motivated child should really not go this direction. All right, let's look at the classical type. The trivium, which you'll hear that phrase, it is stages or ways of learning that coincide with a child's cognitive development. We talked about this a little in the other video on teaching styles, teaching methods. So some of this will be a little review, but I'll flesh it out a little bit more here. In the trivium, there are 3 stages. There's the grammar stage, which is your younger elementary. And what they're going to study in that age group is what's in their world. What does their world comprise of? What's out there? The second stage, which is your latter half of elementary, is going to be the dialectic stage. Tell me more. Tell me why. How does it work? You do a lot of compare and contrasting. You connect real things to abstract concepts. So a lot of the why and the how. And then the third stage, which is your junior high, high school, and on into adulthood, is what does it mean to me? What do I do with this info? How am I going to use it? So logic and debate, paper writing, etc., etc. So some examples are My Father's World, Veritas Press, and Memoria Press. Those are all 3 really good places to get this curriculum. A reference book, if you're planning to go this route, that you really need to have is The Well-Trained Mind by Bauer. You can find that just about anywhere. Used curriculum places, Amazon, just about any place has this book. Again, it's multi-sensory like some of the other ones, so if your child is really any of those types of learners, this is a good fit for them. Works well for families with children close in ability level. Because you can kind of group them together. It uses real books. It's a unit study approach, but there's a progression of knowledge. So you're going to be repeating sometimes in the further up levels. You're going to go back over stuff, but then add to it. It may not feel structured when compared to a traditional curriculum, but it is actually structured, and so you're not going to lose a lot of things like in some of the other like unit studies where you may miss things. You're not going to really miss things with this because it is a little more structured. It's difficult to use when there's a wide gap in age and ability between children. You may miss some things, so you do need to watch out for that, but it's a little better structured than the thematic type. All right, let's talk about technological. This is a relatively speaking, it's a newer way of teaching. This would include internet as well as software-based programs. The internet provides multisensory, it's very interactive using multimedia. Software provides the same, but in a more controlled environment. You don't have the interaction like you do in an internet setting. And by interaction, I mean with other students who are doing virtual classroom type settings. Here are some examples. North Star Academy, University of Nebraska, K-12, the Potter School, Liberty U, Switched on Schoolhouse, Time for Learning, and teaching textbooks. All of these would use technology in one way or another to be able to teach. It does do multisensory, visual, and auditory, so you really, no matter what your learning style of your child is, this would be a good fit. The pros is that it can be more interactive and engaging. You can, depending on what you use, interact with other children in a school setting, a virtual school setting. It does provide structured learning, so your child can learn more independently. Because of the belief that we'll be using devices and the internet more and more in the future, it can be some good preparation for them so that they are familiar with technology and are comfortable with it. It does give the child an opportunity to learn from different teachers online. So if you and your child have a personality conflict, which often happens, don't feel bad if you have that. That's okay. This is a way to homeschool without you being the teacher. So this might be a good fit. Again, as I've mentioned, you can have virtual classmates in a virtual classroom. Some of the cons, though, it can be a little pricey depending on what system you go with. If you or your child is not technically savvy, it can be a little frustrating. If your child can't read yet, this might be really beyond where they are, and you may need to wait till later. It does have less flexibility. You do have deadlines, which may or may not be a good thing. There may be more busy work than some of the other methods. And software has pre-programmed responses, which may frustrate your child if your child's answering an answer correctly, but it's not the programmed answer, so there can be some frustration there. Let me give you a recommended resource in thinking through how to choose curriculum and what is really going to be a best fit for you, for your family, and for your budget. Carletta Sanders of Successful Homeschooling has written an ebook that she offers for free on her website. You'll see the link right below this video. To sum up, she gives 7 steps to help you determine what curriculum to purchase. The first being determine your family's goals. The second is determine your family's needs. Now, those aren't necessarily the same thing. The goals and needs aren't the same thing. Identify your child's learning style, which we talked about 2 videos ago. Learn about the different homeschooling methods, which we talked about in the last video. She covers a section on eclectic homeschooling. She encourages you to look at your curriculum before you buy it. Go to a homeschool fair or borrow a friend's or whatever before you actually go out and plunk down the money. Look before you buy. And lastly, a big one, beware of buyer's remorse. Sometimes you get the curriculum and it's really not what you thought. And anyway, there are ways around that. She covers all of that in her nice ebook. So I encourage you strongly, click the link below. It'll download right onto your hard drive and you can look through that. So that's my recommended resource. Again, with this is a short, quick video. I just wanted to cover these so that you know kind of the different types of curriculum that's out there. Maybe you've heard some of these names like Konos or Rebecca and you wondered what it's like. This might help you be able to kind of get a handle on what's out there and what might be a good fit for you. So feel free to put questions below in the box and we will see you on the next video.